Good morning everyone, today's LEGO leaks might generally be the biggest rumour we've seen all year, and they don't just stop at 2027, we're talking LEGO Street Fighter, LEGO Dragon Ball, a massive Daily Planet modular, and two huge Lord of the Rings sets, along with a brand new UCS Millennium Falcon, just in time for Star Wars 50th anniversary. Now before anyone gets too excited, remember that these are still LEGO rumours, not official announcements, but the source behind the latest batch of leaks has built up a pretty solid track record over the last couple of years, so there's definitely enough here to get excited about. So grab some popcorn, get comfortable, and let's jump straight in to the latest LEGO news. Okay, one very late addition that I have to talk about before we get onto the main bulk of the video. LEGO Marvel Wars. Yes, Star Wars and Marvel are crossing over in LEGO form with set 75481, the Iron Falcon. This will have minifigures of Iron C-3PO, War 2 D2, Spider-Han, Captain Alderaan, and Hulkbacker. This should be out in 2027, and I mean, what do you say to that? This is awesome news. If this turns out to be true, damn, those minifigures are going to be awesome. Plus, if it is true, does that open the door for a potential Sonic and DC LEGO crossover down the road? Because if so...
Shut up and take my money!
LEGO Street Fighter might actually happen. A few years ago, if you ever asked me whether LEGO would actually work with Capcom, I would have laughed. Sonic already felt like a surprise, and LEGO Horizons was completely unexpected. But Street Fighter, that is a license I generally never expected to see anywhere near LEGO. The rumour doesn't tell us much beyond the license itself, but if I had to guess, I would imagine LEGO will treat this the same way they've handled every other collector-focused gaming theme. Think big display model, think icons, think expensive, because that seems to be LEGO's favourite way of dealing with these major new licenses that they land. Personally though, I am far more interested in the possibility of Street Fighter minifigures. Give us Ryu, give us Ken, and give us Chun-Li. Those three are basically guaranteed if this is real, but Street Fighter has one of the greatest character rosters in gaming history. Cammy, Blanka, M. Bison. LEGO could build an entire collectible theme from this license alone, maybe even a CMF series. So hopefully they don't just stop at one set, because if they're going to do Street Fighter, do it properly. More Dragon Ball related news now. We've heard whispers about LEGO Dragon Ball for months now. Different rumours, different leaks, different insiders dropping breadcrumbs here and there. But this latest rumour drop is the first one that has actually started narrowing down where LEGO might be heading with this theme. According to the rumour, the first wave could focus on Planet Namek. Now honestly, that's probably the best possible choice. Namek contains some of the most iconic moments in the entire Dragon Ball franchise. Frieza, Captain Ginyu, Super Kami Guru's house.
Oh, hello, I'm Super Kami Guru.
And the scene where Goku finally becomes the legendary Super Saiyan. That transformation does happen right at the very end of Planet Namek because, spoiler alert, the planet explodes. But it's not far away from that storyline either, so LEGO would have an incredible amount of material to work with. And unlike some licenses where LEGO struggles to make enough sets for them, Dragon Ball almost has the opposite problem. There are simply too many iconic moments. If LEGO gets the minifigures right, and that's the important part, this could generally become one of the biggest new themes they've launched in years. I'm talking dozens of characters that fans have wanted in LEGO forms for decades. Let's just hope that they stay away from buildable figures. Unless it's a Great Ape, that would probably work actually. And not to be left out from this massive wave of leaks, Buggy Leaks has resurfaced with some brand new LEGO Technic sets. These are all releasing next year between January and March. Honestly, the most surprising thing from this list is the fact that the Mighty Machines got another series. Like the F1 CMF, they weren't really for me, but I kinda like the sound of the Solar System Orbit set, although that could just be me because I am a space nerd. The Simpsons are making their return to LEGO once again. Well, kind of. This time round it's a buildable Homer. Personally, I would have preferred a modular androids dungeon. An oversized Homer build doesn't exactly excite me quite as much. Still, at least it shows that LEGO hasn't forgotten about the license entirely. Keeping with the upscaled madness, we are apparently getting an upscaled Spiderpunk, except this one sounds far more dynamic. Rather than simply standing there like a giant minifigure, the rumour suggests that he'll be mid-guitar smash. Now, that's a lot more interesting than the normal static poses that we get stuck with. If LEGO is going to continue adding more characters to its shelf of oversized minifigures, giving them action poses makes them feel much more like a display piece. The leak also mentions a brand new animal theme, but specifically says that these won't be moulded pieces, which immediately raises one very obvious question. What does that mean? If they're not moulded animals, then what are they? Personally, I think this might simply be LEGO taking everything that they've learned from the incredibly popular Creator 3-in-1 animal sets, spinning that idea into its own dedicated theme. Honestly, that makes perfect sense. Those sets sell incredibly well. So giving them their own theme actually feels like one of the safer bets from this entire leak. Things are about to get even stranger because the next rumour involves Hello Kitty. Yes, the global phenomenon is getting a collector focus display piece. Look, as long as LEGO creates sets that appeal to both children and adult collectors, this is going to sell pretty darn well. Now, let's move on to something that might be more interesting. LEGO DC could finally be getting some serious attention again. A new Daily Planet modular building with a 2027 to 2028 release window might be happening. A proper modular Daily Planet has always been sitting on many people's wish lists for years. Now I'm going to make the assumption that this is probably going to be in a similar style and layout to the now retired Daily Bugle, with a newsroom, Perry White's office, Clark Kent's office, a rooftop scene, and hopefully a genuinely awesome minifigure lineup. The potential here is enormous, but there's something else about this Daily Planet rumour that makes it even more interesting. Apparently an Instagram post discussing the leaked information received a like from James Gunn before that was removed. Now, does that prove anything? Absolutely not. Nothing at all. But a like on Instagram isn't confirmation of a LEGO set, but it's still pretty darn cool. And LEGO, please keep Batman out of this one, unless it's Batman Beyond, then please continue. Alongside this rumoured modular, there is apparently going to be a buildable Krypto. LEGO's dog-shaped buildables have a decent track record, and Krypto in the Superman movie was genuinely adorable. Whether it comes with a minifigure is the real question. The last Krypto minifigure we had was in 2018, I think, and that was from a comic-based set that has been long out of production, so I wouldn't count on it coming back just yet. Now, let's move away from superheroes and stumble our way into Middle-earth. There are two huge Lord of the Rings sets on the way, apparently. Helm's Deep and the Prancing Pony. Helm's Deep had a playscale set way back in 2012, which was solid for its time, but nowhere near as close to what the modern Icons treatment could pull off. A large-scale format Helm's Deep could end up being one of the best Lord of the Rings sets ever made. And the Prancing Pony as well would be a welcome addition to the theme. And if you're a Pirates of the Caribbean fan, I've got some good news for you. The Flying Dutchman is reportedly coming. Bowchickabower. And after the recent success of the Black Pearl, another major pirate set doesn't exactly come as a huge surprise. But the Flying Dutchman, fantastic choice. Fantastic choice. Just imagine this ship sitting next to the Black Pearl. That would be an incredible LEGO Pirates display. There's also a castle claw machine. This is apparently going to be based on the original yellow LEGO castle. If true, it's a clever nod to LEGO history, and I'm assuming that this will have some sort of mechanical functionality to it, as it sounds like the perfect companion piece to the existing minifigure prize machine set. There's also a Queen Mary 2 ocean liner reportedly coming to LEGO Icons. This isn't quite as exciting as Helm's Deep or the Flying Dutchman, but I can absolutely see why LEGO would make it. Obviously, a minifigure scale Queen Mary 2 would be enormous and is out of the question, so I think it's safe to assume that this is going to be similar to the LEGO Titanic. A huge ship built as a display piece. And if LEGO gets that shaping right, this could look incredible. And not to be left in the dust, there is a rumoured Knight Rider set, which will apparently have kit sit roughly round about the same size as Ecto 1. Which, if accurate, means we are finally getting another David Hasselhoff minifigure. It's been a few years since the last one. Architecture is apparently getting two new landmark sets, the Golden Gate Bridge and the Pantheon. The Golden Gate Bridge has been a requested set for years, so it showing up on this list isn't that shocking, and I'm wondering if it will be the same scale as the recent Tower Bridge release. Pantheon is more of the interesting pick. As far as I'm aware, LEGO has never really touched ancient Greek architecture before, which is honestly overdue given how well this line usually handles historical landmarks. LEGO Disney is getting a large-scale Arendelle castle. This is apparently roughly going to be the same size as the Beauty and the Beast 18+ castle. There's also a broader wave of Smart Play sets. These will include Disney and Ninjago. Smart Brick tech keeps spreading around into more themes, and I'm still not sold on it. At least Mario's version held my attention and my son's for a little bit. Whether Ninjago fares any better remains to be seen. And look, kids are the actual target audience here, not adult collectors, so maybe the final verdict isn't just mine to make. Star Wars is rumoured to be getting a new UCS Millennium Falcon, set 75487, releasing October 2027. Thanks to Maxport for the information regarding the set number and release date. Apparently this is going to be tied to the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, and it's going to be interesting to see how they make this different compared to the current UCS Millennium Falcon. Although, I wonder, was there any concept art for the Millennium Falcon? Could we be getting that if there is? Price-wise, given that the most recent UCS set, the LEGO Death Star, landed at about $1,000, a new Falcon somewhere near that wouldn't be surprising at all. Although if LEGO were truly brave, they would give us a large, giant, playscale Yavin 4 base. But of course they won't do this, so let's get the Millennium Falcon for the 100th time. There's also an upscaled Captain Rex minifigure on the way, following the same giant minifigure format LEGO used for the upscaled Darth Vader, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this one turns out. Bam! Spooky season is almost upon us, and thanks to Promo Clock Owl, we can see that there will be 3 new minifigures to chase and put together. These will be available at all LEGO stores around September time, just in time for Halloween. And in February we will once again have to catch them all, as there will be 3 new LEGO Pokémon sets. These are all going to be 18 plus sets, but alas, there is no new info on what they might be. The long anticipated Wallace and Gromit LEGO Ideas set 21371 has a launch window, and it's closer than you might think. With 1038 pieces, the piece count lines up pretty closely with the original fan submission, so it's safe to assume it will be the same Wallace and Gromit red motorcycle build that we originally saw. Of course, I'm not expecting any minifigures with this set, and I'm purely basing that idea on recent ET and Gizmo sets that we got, and I see no reason to think that Wallace and Gromit is going to break that pattern. Although if LEGO want to prove me wrong, please do. Thanks to Red Note, we've got a sneaky look at the next Restaurants of the World promo. It's a fish-themed build with a small cat figure and a minifigure carrying a fish. With 254 pieces, it follows the same modular line 'em up format as the previous entries. This will be available from the 11th of August all the way through to the 21st, with any purchase of $180 or more. So if you're already planning a big LEGO haul this month, maybe timing it with that release window would be a good idea. LEGO teased us with our first look at the Mario minifigures ages ago, and now thanks to buggy leaks on Instagram, we have a rough idea of what that wider wave will look like. There's going to be a full run of minifigure-based Super Mario sets, and these new details point to a range of 7 sets launching in January, covering a decent spread of price points and age ranges. We've got no further details as of yet, but I highly suspect that this one will be Peach's Castle. It's important to remember that these are going to be standard minifigure playsets, not smart brick powered builds. And after LEGO's rocky smart brick rollout across Pokémon and Star Wars, a straightforward, non-gimmicked Mario line is probably a safer and smarter call, and probably one that longtime fans wanted in the first place. And we've got word, thanks to Unibricks, that January's 2027 wave will feature 7 new sets, starting with 21599 Forest Attack for $10, 21600 Jungle Fort Skeleton Attack for $15, 21601 Baby Wolf House for $20, 21602 Blaze Battle Arena for $20, 21603 Mineshaft Cave Expedition for $30, 21604 Pig for $40, and finally 21606 Castle Joust for $70. And it's nice to see that LEGO Minecraft is still keeping itself affordable for children. On to the official reveals, and of course we've got the first official images of the LEGO Ministry of Magic D2C set. And I'm not going to soften this. At $450, this is one of the pricier Harry Potter sets that LEGO has put out there. But there is some good news. The gift with purchase for this set 40901, the Ministry Munchies and Daily Profit stand, you don't need to buy the Ministry of Magic to get this set. If you spend $130 on any LEGO Harry Potter sets, this gift with purchase will be yours. Now, out of everything here, the Daily Planet Modular, Street Fighter, Dragon Ball, Helm's Deep, and the Flying Dutchman are the 5 I think are worth watching closely. Again, none of this has been confirmed, and there isn't a single set number attached to anything in this leak. Well, apart from the Millennium Falcon. But I like to think that Bricktap has earned our trust, and even if half of this turns out to be real, the next 2 years of LEGO releases are gonna be amazing. And with that, we have reached the end of the video. Which one of these leaks are you hoping turns out to be true? Let me know in the comments down below, and as always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a most wonderful day. Bye!